Hey there. So today we are going to be looking at the 2010 Putnam B1, and it may not seem so impressive because well it's a B1, so it's supposed to be one of the easiest questions on the paper, but I assure you that this one is really cool. And why I think so is because intuitively the answer to the question is really clear, but how to put it in mathematical rigor is, well, it's quite a challenge, let's just say. So the question is on your screen right now. So when I first read this question, it felt really impossible to me because, well, you have infinitely many real numbers and you are summing all of them to a perfect integer for all powers, and moreover the sum, which is an integer, is always equal to the power. That feels really restricting, so it feels like it must be impossible. But on the other hand, it also seems possible in some way because, well, we are used to the notion that if you have k equations in k variables, then you can solve them in most cases. Like there are some border cases where you can't do that, but in most cases you can do it. And in this case you have infinitely many equations in infinitely many variables, so maybe in some limit sense, in some loose limit sense, there must be some solution for these infinitely many real numbers. But again, we can't really put it into mathematical rigor. So how do we go about this? Well, right after looking at this question, one thing which came to my mind was kind of similar to another problem. So there is one more problem, which is prove that a to the n plus 1 over a to the n is an integer for all n greater than or equal to 1 if a plus 1 over a is an integer. So given that a plus 1 over a is an integer, you have to prove that a to the n plus 1 over a to the n is always an integer for all n. So in this problem, the trick was, so once again you can pause the video over here if you want to try this one out, but I'm going to give you the solution to it now. So if you want to solve this, the trick is to use induction. So we know that this is an integer. Now we'll assume that all a to the k plus 1 over a to the k is an integer for all k less than or equal to n minus 1. And using this assumption, we will prove that a to the n plus 1 over a to the n is also an integer. So how we do this is we say that this is equal to a to the n minus 1 plus 1 over a to the n minus 1 times a plus 1 over a, right? No, we also need to remove the cross term. So if you multiply this and this, then you get this term. This and this will give you this term, but there will also be two extra terms, which are this times this and this times this, which we don't really want, so we'll subtract them off. So that will be a to the n minus 2 plus 1 over a to the n minus 2, because this times this and this times this. But now under this assumption, this is an integer, this is an integer, and this is also an integer. So there's some the overall thing must also be an integer. So this is also an integer. So this is how you solve this problem. And this one kind of reminded me of this. So maybe we can do something similar over here as well. We can do something similar to induction, and what we'll do is we'll say that this is equal to the sum of ak to the m minus 1. So I'm just writing sum, I'll not write the bounds, it's pretty clear, times the sum of ak minus the cross term. So in this case we can't really write the cross terms like this very easily. We have to write it like this: k not equal to j of ak to the m minus 1 into aj. So this removes all the cross terms. So this thing is the double sum as k goes from 1 to infinity, j goes from 1 to infinity, of aj times ak to the m minus 1. So in this we are taking all the terms in which, like, j and k can be anything, but over here j is not equal to k, so that basically leaves behind these terms. So I hope you agree with this statement. So now we'll work with this. So I'll remove all of this and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is what we have so far, and now if we assume that m is greater than or equal to 2, then this will equal m minus 1 because of the definition of the sequence, and this will equal 1. So we have m minus 1 minus this double sum ak m minus 1 aj is equal to m. So this thing is equal to 1, or we can remove the minus 1 over there, and we have a relation that this double sum is equal to minus 1. And again, this feels really wrong intuitively, because you have this sequence which adds up to m minus 1 and this sequence which adds up to 1, and you're multiplying them and you're just removing some terms, and that suddenly makes the sum from a positive integer to minus 1. How can that be? But again, that's not a rigorous justification for why it can't happen. So we need to think a little bit more. So notice that over here we had multiplied by this sum, but equivalently we could have multiplied by this squared, and in that case we would get an output of m plus 1 and square over there as well. So what would this result in? So well, this would become 2. So we get twice m minus 1 minus this, so I'll just call it s for short, is equal to m plus 1. So we can do some cancellations. This will become m minus 3 is equal to s. So this doesn't feel wrong. This feels like it can happen in some sense. But still, let's just write out what s is. So s is that double sum. We'll just write it out. K is equal to k not equal to j, ak to the m minus 1 aj square. So one thing which came to my mind at this stage is that if we manage to make m minus 1 even and this side less than 0, then we are on to something. Because if this is less than 0 and m minus 1 is even, then basically this entire thing, which all the terms of this sum are positive and they're adding up to something which is negative. So obviously we have a contradiction. So what can we put as the value of m? Well, you may think that we can put m is equal to 1, but there is a slight problem with that, because some of the ak's can be equal to 0 as well. So you'll have 0 to the power 0, and it's kind of difficult to say what that is in a rigorous sense, in this case at least. So what we'll do instead is we'll say m is equal to 3. So in that case this will become 2 and this will become 0. So obviously 0 is not less than 0, but it is equal to 0. But still we have what we wanted. We have the sum of positive stuff equal to 0, and that obviously can't happen. That means that none of these are positive, they are all equal to 0. But that means that ak and aj is equal to 0 for all k and j. But then this can't happen, because you're basically adding up 0 to the m plus 0 to the m plus 0 to the m and so on, and you're saying that is equal to m, and that is obviously not true for any positive m. So there is our contradiction, and thanks for watching.
Turn up. Let's go.